So I'm starting a new series on my channel where I wanted to kind of break down drop spots in terms of competitive, and I think this could be really informative and it could help a lot of people that are new to the competitive scene or are really experienced already and maybe just want to go and try a new drop that they might not know anything about. So I'm going to try and cover as much as I know, and if there's anything else that I might have missed or think that I could have added, feel free to let me know, and that's about it. Let's get into it. So Lazy is a really good drop spot and probably one of the most well-rounded ones in the game, which is why me and my duo chose it for early start of the Season 8. A few things I wanted to go over was how to drop here, the loot locations, the potential looting routes, and the way to get the most optimal mats. So Lazy brings a lot to the table, and let's jump in. So Lazy Lagoon landings are probably the most unique in the game, where they have geysers all around them. And I'm going to try and show you guys how to drop the most optimal way by using the geysers there. So for this drop, it's probably one of the harder ones by the pressure plant. You're going to want to paraglide around here to hit this geyser over top of Lazy. This is going to be all the most optimal drops for the boat. I didn't hit it perfectly there, as you want to be hitting the highest point of this geyser without having to wait at all. But you're going to redeploy your glider here again as you get close to the boat, and you're going to be right up top, beating anybody else that does not use a geyser. So this bus is pretty simple. If you're coming over top of Lazy, you're going to be pulling your glider right before kind of the city and hitting the far side geyser here that you hit before from the top right part. And hitting the highest point of this geyser here and diving right down to the boat. You're going to also jump out of the bus to being as close of a line you can to the actual geyser. So for this one, I thought you're going to pull by this tree line and hit the geyser under this newly added little slipstream type thing. I've tried experimenting with the slipstream and dropping into that, but I found it's really weird with this tree line here, and your glider ends up pulling kind of high. So you're going to want to go over just these trees here and hit the geyser right here at the peak. And redeploy your glider down under by the boat, and make sure you're redeploying your glider over the water, because if you do it over top of this tree line there, you're gonna pull your glider too high, and you see I beat this guy here, for example, who didn't land in a geyser. So going to the locations of where to loot, the boat has a total of 8 chest spawns, 9 including this chest up top, which is very, very situational if you can get it or not. So from top down of the south side of the boat, one first layer down, dropping down another one here, break through this floor, another one here, and back middle there is another one right below. So that's 4 chest spawns really quickly off spawn. So the north side of the boat has a total of 4 if you include this top one up here, which I think is not really attainable from when you're racing off spawn to get the most loot, so I would not optimally go for that chest spawn. So coming down from the north side, there is a cage here which is a one hit. You can pickaxe it once, then you're at the bottom of the boat. So you have a chest spawn right off spawn here. You have another chest spawn moving right to the back of the boat right there. And then you have one more coming up through this cage here. From my experience, I've had the most success landing on the top south side here, depending on what loot spawns up top. There's 3 item spawns right up top. Or you can come to the chest spawn and start going down, as I showed before. Another impactful drop that I've found has somewhat worked is hitting the cage and dropping all the way down, because right here you have 6 item spawns. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Along with this chest spawn that you can usually get if it's there. With this drop leading right down to loot, and then you have immediate mats off spawn, because mats play such a strong role on early game fights, because you never want to be running out of mats and having to kind of jump on somebody. That's probably like your lowest chance of winning an early game fight, is just 50-50ing. So these mats here are really helpful. So on the topic of mats, the second part of the post here is give, I believe, 150 or so in competitive modes. So dropping down into the boat, there's these little cannon stacks along each side of the boat, and they give, I believe, 18 to 24 metal, which is really good off spawn. You can get about maybe 200 to 300 metal off just the boat here alone. So going to the east side of Lazy, there is, I think, 10 chest spawns throughout the entire thing, but they're pretty spread out, and some are kind of hard to get off spawn. Coming down under the dock, there's a chest spawn right here. And moving left to right, this is what we would call banana, me and my duo when we landed here. There's one chest spawn up top through this wall. The back main place, there's two. There's one on the top middle there, and then one through this part of the roof, or from the inside, you can break right through there. So behind main here, there is a little cave, which has one chest spawn. If you come to the far back and go through, one here. Right behind the double chest here, up here on top of what we call the hammock, there's one on the roof. And coming down to the last building here, which we would call mini, you can give it whatever names you'd like, but there's one more here. So that's the basic loot locations, the chests, and I talked about a couple of floor loot spawns. And now we're going to get into some potential looting routes. So Lazy has a lot to offer with the garages around and cannons being in the boat. There's a lot of easy movement. That's excluding the double ball spawn at the bottom, which are currently not in the game because vehicles are disabled. So I wanted to get into the west side jungle, which is usually the most optimal rotation out of Lazy. So at this little island here, there's a single chest spawn. Coming right over to the beach, there's a triple chest spawn, which is really good, along with a vending machine. And for duos, there's also a reboot van right here. So after looting Lazy, it's usually, if you have double ball or single ball, you can either get you and your duo to split. You can take a ball early game from the bottom and come right to west side and grab these triple chests along with the vending. Or once you fully looted Lazy and you're leaving, you can come right over to here and usually work your way up through the west jungle. So moving to the west side jungle, there's a triple item spawn there at that RV along with some metal if you're short on metal leaving Lazy. There's another chest spawn here, and then right here there is another chest spawn. And these 5 rocks give from 100 to 150 brick each, so that's going to max out your brick whether you're playing solo or duos, pretty close. And then moving along a little bit more north, if this pirate camp's not looted, I would definitely work my way over there, along with grabbing this chest spawn on the way. So this pirate camp has 3 chest spawns along with quite a decent amount of floor loot. There's an item spawn up here as well, and there's the chest spawn up top there, one at the background here, and one more if you drop down the stairs through this wall. And there's one more hidden item spawn here, which I've actually found a launch pad from before, which has been really helpful, but a lot of people don't know about. So that's definitely something to keep in mind when you're looting the pirate camp here. And one last thing from rotating out of here, I wanted to mention that when the cannons are in play, I would usually open my menu and mark the geyser that is below the new ship here. And depending on zone, I would cannon towards the south ship here, or you can hit the west side and hit the geyser on by the umbrella. So finally, I want to get into the most optimal mats, because mats play a role on each drop spot, and Lazy happens to have each material. So as I mentioned before, the boat, the second part of these poles here, these give a lot of wood. I know wood's not very impactful, but for early game, it's really strong for getting a lot of mats off spawn. As I mentioned before, these cannonballs give really good metal, so you can leave with about 200 to 300 metal off just the boat. Rotating over to the east side, you can either drop down, grab these brick down here, which I've usually done because I'm short on brick off spawn off the boat because there's none on it. Coming up the stairs here, this fountain is really good for brick, so that's 2 individual parts here and here. This gives, I believe, around 100 brick maybe a little bit more, maybe a little less. And then coming to these back anchors, which I don't know if everybody knows about, but if they don't, they should. So these are all 2-hit anchors, and online they give 50-ish metal each. So right there, there's 200 metal alone. One thing I wanted to mention about the mats in Lazy is that these money bags are all 1 hit each, and they give around 20-ish metal. So as you're running around Lazy, I'd recommend hitting all the metal things you can, and a lot of people don't know all of them. So I think there's about 3 of these little chandeliers around Lazy. So these are 1 hit and give, I think, 20-ish metal. There's, I think, 2 of these chairs. One's on the boat, but they give metal as well. So I talked about these 5 brick spawns as well. And there's also a ton of brick all around the beach and moving into the jungle, along with 2 of our V-spawns if you're lacking any extra metal. 1 there to my left, and 1 just over this hill right there. Thanks for watching, guys. If this video is helpful to you at all, I'd appreciate if anybody supported me and used the creator code parallel-ando with a 0. That's all. Peace out, guys.